Hey there, this is Andrea, your 40-year-old bride, here to bring you the very best in dating tips and marriage and engagement and wedding planning and all that good, wonderful stuff, specifically for your more mature, independent type of bride, right? Because we're way different than we used to be in our 20s, so this is completely different content than what's typically out there for our 20-something-year-old brides. Hello to my 40-plus-year-old brides. All right, so today we're talking about mini moons, which I think is a wonderful alternative to the big all-out, going all-out, guns a-blazing honeymoon. There is a new world called mini moons, which I think is superbly fantastic and such a great use of money, especially directly after a wedding when a lot of your pockets are really screaming. And so, but you still have that desire to get away. So we're going to talk about mini moons today. We'll talk about what mini moons are, who they're for. I'm very surprised by the number of people who don't take a honeymoon at all. Don't take one at all. And there's many reasons for that. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about the alternative. So rather than do nothing, you can do a mini moon, and we'll talk about the many different ways that looks and lots of different tips about rules for mini moons and all that kind of thing, according to, wow, I made them up myself, but I think they're helpful. So here we go. All right, so first let's address why people don't go on honeymoons in the first place. Obviously, the number one reason is money, because your average wedding is about $30K. So, by the time you're done with a wedding, you really are feeling that pain in your pockets, debt-wise, otherwise. You've maxed out on cash and otherwise for your wedding. And so it's just hard financially to jump right into a honeymoon or to plan a honeymoon as you're planning a wedding. It's kind of a lot. So I can get why a lot of people just opt out of honeymoons completely. However, according to one of my really good friends / clients that I love, Dr. Tart, he says that you really should take advantage of a honeymoon and don't negate it. Don't put it off too long, because if you do that, you start to set a precedence in your marriage for not investing in yourselves and not taking that good R&R together, which is so needed, especially after a wedding. So that's one reason, is money, obviously. Another reason right now currently is COVID. So as I'm recording this is December 2021. COVID is still a thing. The Omicron variant is now a new thing. And so it's still, keeping us at bay, keeping us at home a bit, where most people, I think, are trying to be a bit cautious, maybe not so much as we were in the beginning, but it's still a factor. So COVID plays a factor for sure. And if you're like me, passports are a problem. So my hubby's passport expired, and so we had to wait for that, and that was going to take some time. So I tried to wait for him to do it. Honestly, it was taking forever. So ever since we officially got married, I took that over, and that's now in progress. But I mean, we couldn't have just gone off somewhere. We would have had to wait for that anyway. So that's another thing, is get your passports together, be passport ready if you think you're going to go overseas for your honeymoon. Another reason are kids. Kids are a big hindrance. So kids or pets. So trying to get away from them, or just the fact that kids suck up so much money anyway. We don't have kids, but I get why people with kids don't take on, don't do the honeymoon thing, because it's so much. It's a lot having kids and doing a wedding and then trying to take a honeymoon solo, the two of you together, and have other people watch your kids while you're gone. So that's another factor. And the final one, which I think is very realistic for us 40-plus-year-olds, is you can't get away from work too long. So I'm a business owner. It's hard to get away from the business, true, especially when you're very small. And then just in general, if I were still working a corporate role, a career world role, and if I was still a professional in that space, I could see how it could be hard to get away for 2 weeks, even 1 week, especially, if you're in a situation where you only get 2 weeks off of work and you're going to chop off one with a honeymoon, and then all your holidays and stuff have to share that one last week. It's kind of hard, right? So it's hard to get that time away from work for a lot of people. So I think those are the top reasons why people don't do honeymoons. All right, so let's talk about the honeymoon alternative, which we're here to talk about anyway, which is the minimoon, which I think is adorable, fantastic. I don't know who coined this term, but it's so fantastic. Like, it works perfectly. Minimoon is exactly what it sounds like. It's the mini version of a honeymoon. And it means you don't necessarily have to go out of the country or even off to some island. It's largely like, think of it like a staycation or something local. So ideally something you can drive to, or either it's a very inexpensive flight to. Whatever you think of as your all-out vacation, where you're really going, overseas somewhere, or you're going to an island for a week or 2 weeks at a time, if that's your honeymoon level and that's the all-out vacation, then minimoon is the smaller, more truncated version of that. It's less time, it's less money than you would normally spend, and ideally it's just a nicer way to get away and get a change of scenery and get out of the house and get out of your normal surroundings, but you can still have some one-on-one time with your honey, which is the main point, right? Like, you want to relax, breathe, and all that. And to be quite honest, I used to think, like, why are we doing honeymoons anyway? Because I used to think, like, why? It felt like a super flex for no reason. Like, we just balled out on our wedding. Now we're going to go ball out on a super expensive trip somewhere just cause. And I felt like that was like fiscally irresponsible. Like, why do we have to, just cause that's the ideal in society, to go off on this honeymoon, be whisked away to some beautiful exotic island somewhere or something for 2 weeks or more? And to me, I didn't get the point. But I will say, after getting married, that I wanted that breather, that just, because weddings are stressful. It's good stress, but it's just stress. There's so much to think about mentally. It's mentally draining. It's physically draining. There's so many things to consider, people to consider, feelings to consider. There's potential drama to stave off. There's all kinds of things you got to deal with. And so by the time you get through with your day, you just want to breathe. You just want to breathe is what you want to do. And a honeymoon is perfect for that. A getaway is perfect for that. I don't know if I would have been ready for one the day immediately after, but for sure, the 1 or 2 weeks after, my brain was not even into work anyway. So I get why now a honeymoon is so valuable. So I'm saying to you, if you're planning your wedding now, at least plan a minimoon, and then you can do a honeymoon later, which is what we're currently doing. So do a minimoon, it gets you a chance to get away, and then the honeymoon is the dream that you want to, somewhere that you've always wanted to go to, the both of you. So that's what a minimoon is. And in fact, about 88% of minimooners are domestic. They're going to stay local somewhere within the country. So it really is that kind of staycation type of a feel, somewhere local you can drive to, local-ish or regional-ish, that you can drive to and get to, ideally inside of a day, is how we're going to define a minimoon. Less money, less time. It's not necessarily even a whole week. It might be just 3 or 4 days, a long weekend. You can think of it like that. But whatever your big version is of a nice, super awesome vacation, the minimoon is a percentage of that, a much, much smaller percentage of that. So that's how we're defining it today. Now, minimoon rules. So now that we've defined what a minimoon is and why people don't do honeymoons and why minimoons are such a great idea, we'll talk about rules for putting a minimoon together. I came up with these and I think they're awesome. So the number one rule is there is no rule. There are no strict rules for minimoons, but there are some good guidelines, right? There are some good things to think about when you're planning a quick little minimoon. So here are my tips that I think you'll find helpful. Number one is to keep it simple, honey. Keep this thing simple, because the point of it is to breathe after a wedding. So what you don't want, what we don't want, is a lot of overscheduling. All of this super extra planning. Oh, we gotta go biking, then we gotta go fishing, then we gotta go this, then we gotta do this, and at 2:00 we gotta go do our yoga class together for couples. Then we gotta go to dinner at 6:00. That's an hour away. Like, You don't want something so overscheduled that you're frazzled trying to live your dream of a little mini moon. And for a honeymoon, for that matter, I don't think I'm going to overschedule my honeymoon either, because again, the point is to relax, not to have that feeling like you need a vacation from your vacation. Okay? That's what we don't want. And I think a lot of people feel stressed from their vacations because they feel like they have to fit so much in. Oh, we gotta go skydiving. Oh, we should really see that waterfall. Oh, we gotta. Like, you just keep thinking of all the things that you would love to pack into that tight little vacation, and just don't do it. Don't do that to yourself. What I recommend instead is keep a list of awesome items you can choose from. So rather than prepay for all the stuff that you want to do, think you should do, and schedule out your whole mini moon, 3 or 4 days, whatever, how long it is, to a T, you instead have options to choose from, and then you're not beholden to a schedule. You can just have ideas when you want to get out and do something. Then you can say, oh yeah, it would be awesome to go see those waterfalls. Let's go and check it out, but it's nothing that you already are obligated to. So keep it simple. Do not overschedule. Okay, don't overschedule it. Number 2 is to keep it relatively inexpensive. So you do want this to be relatively inexpensive compared to what you would do for a honeymoon, right? So the point is to not spend a ton more money because you just did that for your wedding. So keep this as inexpensive as possible, which means you're going to have to find some ways to save, which is easy to do on a mini moon. That's what's so great. I love just the term alone gives you the freedom to do things much more inexpensively. So here's some ways that you can reduce your expenses. One is, as we kind of alluded to, your travel, keeping it close to home. So if it's something within driving distance, you're not spending a flight for the 2 of you, you're not getting airplane tickets for the 2 of you, that saves on a lot of money. And the closer you are to home, the less gas you have to spend if you're driving. So keeping it close to home is going to help save you money for sure. And also then your lodging, wherever you decide to stay, you can save money on. So rather than go all out and stay at the Ritz or the Four Seasons or some very expensive boutique hotel that's not even within most people's normal radars for a hotel stay, you could Airbnb it, or like we did, which I love this idea. I can't take credit. My hubby thought of this actually, which I give him full marks for. He came up with the idea of a tiny cabin stay. How awesome. So he's an architect, and I guess we were looking at mountains because we normally go to the mountains this time of year anyway, because his birthday is the 1st of December and we are always going away to the mountains. Now, I take credit for that one because I started taking him to the mountains for his birthday, and that is our thing now. So it was a natural fit for us to combine his birthday with the mini moon because we just had our wedding in October, and then November was Thanksgiving. So by the time early December rolled around, we were ready to have that break. So he came with a wonderful idea of a tiny cabin, which I think is fantastic. How great is that? Airbnb a tiny cabin. It was wonderful. So there's this place in Tennessee called Water's Edge Retreat, and we stayed at the cutest tiny cabin called, I believe it was Water and Woods tiny cabin, tiny home, Water and Woods tiny home. It was so adorable. And I think, I was like $130 a night, which is comparable to a decent hotel room. But the fact is, it's a different experience. So you get space, you don't have neighbors, you don't have elevators, you have a lot of privacy and just nature, which is fantastic. It had its own fire pit area. It had a big, huge hammock outside. It had gathering places. Not that we had friends and such with us, but if you had friends who were tiny cabining it with you, they could potentially come over. You could do s'mores and cocoa with Baileys together and all that cool stuff. So that was an awesome experience. Tiny cabin. If you had a fall wedding, I highly recommend a tiny cabin experience. So fun. I mean, who does it? It's so cute. But so the point is, you can save on the space. Airbnb, pick something unique, something you always wanted to go to that's nearby local, and you can save some money that way. And finally, another area you can save money on is food and beverage. So rather than dine out every night, which can be costly, if the place you're staying allows you to cook, and assuming one of the two of you can cook or both of you, that's perfect. So if you got a little stove, microwave, fridge, awesome, which is another reason why the tiny cabin worked. So we went shopping, a little grocery store around the area, got a couple of items for the week and cooked it up. Cooked up our own breakfast. We had bagels, we had a little toaster oven, we had eggs and bacon and grits and whatever we felt like cooking. It was fantastic. And one night we just pizzaed it. So we didn't order pizza, but we just warmed up a pizza in the oven. We did that one night. One night we went out and did a nice birthday dinner. So we picked a very pricey, beautiful, gorgeous restaurant, did the whole traditional birthday dinner thing. It was fantastic. And we loved that. So it was great. So that was our little luxurious splurge. But otherwise, we were snacking it up and cooking it up in the cabin. And I think that saved a good amount of money. You can also bring your own drinks. So keep your own bottles of wine, Prosecco for mimosas in the morning. If you plan it out and you don't mind cooking for yourselves, it's great. The only time that's a problem is if neither of you are cooks, and you don't, that kind of stuff stresses you out and it makes you mad. Even if cooking is not your ministry, forget that item. Maybe you could do something else, like, bring some, whatever you do at home, whatever you normally do, DoorDash, or, if you just have ready-made snacks or something, I don't know, whatever you do, but maybe that's a way to save. But otherwise, if you're cooks, cook for yourself and save some money. It's awesome. All right, and so the other thing about mini moons is because they're so inexpensive, you could potentially do a couple of them. So one thing that I consider as part of a mini moon was we stayed an extra day beyond when our guests were staying. So a lot of our guests stayed for the day after. They were with us for the day after the wedding, at least the morning after, maybe the half day after. And so we stayed an extra night in addition to that. So we said goodbye to them, and then we kind of had a nice breather night to ourselves, and the next day we could relaxed and calmly leave the premises without rushing. So the point is, we're not rushing to leave along with our guests. We had a nice extra day and we could go explore a little bit, and we went out and found the cutest Cuban place to have breakfast, which was so perfect, and we got to eat outside on a little bistro, open air, and it was just so quiet and lovely, and everyone else was in work world busy around us downtown, and we were just living our nice little life post-wedding. So I highly recommend an extra stay at your hotel, 1 night, 2 nights, whatever it is. If you're staying at a hotel, that could be part of a mini moon. I call that mini moon part 1, and then mini moon part 2 could be like your cabin getaway like we had, or whatever else you choose. It could be a beach getaway or whatever in the area. So you can do this in 2 parts, and I highly recommend that because I think it just gives you more chances to breathe and relax and get away together. Okay, so finally we'll talk about some other ideas for mini moon. So I already gave you the tiny cabin idea, the mountain getaway retreat type of idea is awesome. So in addition to that, there's some other ideas to think about for your mini moon. One is a city focus. So if there's a city that you both would have loved to visit, or maybe you haven't visited it in a while, like Savannah is not so far from us where we are in Atlanta. So in Savannah, that could have been an option for us if the weather was warmer. Maybe if we got married in the spring or late, early summer, we could have done a Savannah trip or something like that. Think of a city focus, some city that you could have gone to. Greenville's not so far from us, and I think of Greenville as the South's best kept secret because people sleep on Greenville, but Greenville is up and coming and charming and darling. So not only is it the economic hub of South Carolina, but it is massively charming. Its downtown area is award-winning, and it's just so fantastic to hang around. That could have been an awesome staycation. So you could pick a city as a focus. That's one way to go about it. The other is action focused. So if you are an action type of couple and you happen to love mountain climbing and all that, you could have made a trip around the action you want to have. So if it's besides the obvious action. So if it's like kayaking or whitewater rafting, mountain hiking, whatever it is, bungee jumping, skydiving, if that's the kind of stuff that you've always wanted to do, snorkeling, whatever, if there's a specific activity that you're like, oh, it would just be so great, it would be so awesome if we could just do this one thing, you could center around and pick a location based on that one activity, and then you make sure you get to do that activity, and then otherwise you get to relax and calm down and enjoy each other. So you can make it action focused. That's a second way. A third way is scenery focused. So again, instead of mountains, you may want to see the beach. You may be like me, a murals chick, and you love street art and you want to go mural chasing. Am I like the only person who loves to do that? Tell me I'm not. I could build a whole little mini moon trip around mural chasing in the right kind of city. So if there was a city that had really awesome murals, like Chattanooga has a good amount of decent murals around that are fun to see. So, that was kind of awesome. In addition to the mountains, we could get to Chattanooga, which is like 50 minutes away, and that's where we did our nice birthday dinner, but also did a little bit of mural chasing, which is just fun to do. For me, it's fun. It's Instagram worthy and it's super fun. So you could totally make it all scenery focused if there's something you both want to see and really wanted to be around. Niagara Falls, what about that? Like just something you just always wanted to see because the optics of it are so amazing. And also, it's going to make for great photos for you. But besides the point is, it's amazing to see. So scenery focus is another way. And the fourth way, my dears, is also a favorite, which is for the cocktail, winery, foodie people like me. Hello. If that's you, then you can make a focus all around that. Cocktails, food, and wine. So if there is a city nearby that you've always wanted to get away to that's got a good amount of vineyards or restaurants that you really want to go to, Michelin restaurants. Why Atlanta doesn't have Michelin restaurants, I do not know. We need to talk to some authorities about that. But if there's some food places you always wanted to go to, places that have fantastic cocktails, and I mean your top-notch mixologist type of people, then you can make a focus all around that. If you're just simple natural foodies and you want to have a little kind of restaurant hopping tour in a beautiful city, you could do it like that. So those are my little tips for you for focus areas you could build a mini moon around. And that's it, my dears. Truthfully, as you can see, a mini moon is what you make it. So I'd love to hear your ideas below. What mini moon ideas do you think are awesome? Have you done a mini moon? Are you going to do one at any time in the future? Even if you're currently married, I think you could still go on a mini moon. I think they're adorable. I think we may just keep having those in the future. But yeah, let me know your ideas below. I'd love to hear them. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you coming here. Again, I'm Andrea, your 40-year-old bride, here to talk to you all about all things dating, getting engaged, married, wedding planning, and marriage, all that good stuff. And so if you're like me and you want to chat about all those things, please join the Facebook group. There is a Facebook group called The 40-Year-Old Bride. So ladies, you are welcome to come. And if you identify as a lady, please come along. And then also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please do hit that subscribe button and then hit the little notifications bell after that, or otherwise I promise you, you will never see these videos again. You gotta hit the notifications bell, okay? And if you're listening to this on podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, any of those, wherever you are, please do subscribe and follow the podcast and leave a review. I need reviews. This is so new. I need some ratings and reviews. So if you would please do that, just leave a quick little comment, something. I would really, really appreciate it. I would love to read that. So please do me a favor and head on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this and do that for me. Subscribe and leave a review. All right, and let me know you did it. Come back over to Instagram or wherever you are. Andrea TheoJohn, come find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are, and let me know that you left a review. I would love to do that. Love to see who you are, meet you, and all that good stuff. Online, of course, we're gonna do this digital because it's still COVID. It is what it is. All right, my dears, and that is all for today. Thank you so much. I truly enjoyed chatting it out with you, and I would love to hear your comments below, so definitely say hi. And otherwise, I will see you next time. Cheers.